A contentious round one saw drama from start to finish. But the reigning champion Connor Berry recovered from an inauspicious start to take the win after penalties were handed out. Determination and a little bit of luck certainly helped him. But will he heed the ladder again today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the 2023 General Tire National Series. And you'll see it all live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes, our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, we come to a tiny bull ring of a little track here, and I have to say, this is going to really put the drivers up against it, even in the tiny little heats that we have here, Joey, because there's just basically no room to get away from anybody.
I think you named it right. It's a bull ring of a circuit, and it's really about the rhythm here, because if you get thrown off of the rhythm and off of the groove at any point on this circuit, you're going to see a train of trucks just kind of go right on by you.
Here you can see a little bit of the track here with 5 corners to speak of and a half mile in length. It is very short, it's very tight, it's very twisty, and honestly, you've only really got 2 sweepers out of these. With the drivers taking the first corner relatively fast and the last corner. Everything else, you're just tight and slow and pick it up and slow it down once again. But this place in Chandler, Arizona, unfortunately no longer going to be around much longer in the real world, as it's about to be demolished, as this will only be the form that you can see it in after this. But we're going to have a pretty good race here today, Joey. A heat racing format into a feature. But before that, of course, we'll get to the LCQs. So if you don't do well at the start, it ain't over.
No, you see it here. Going to do a few heat races, 6 laps each, into the LCQs, 4 laps, and then that final 26 laps with the competition caution. And like you mentioned, if you don't do well here in the first couple heats, you do have those LCQs. However, if you ask me, I don't want to rely on the LCQ. I want to go out there. I want to get my laps done. I want to transfer immediately and have a good starting spot for that final.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. It's more going to be about trying to position yourself well at the beginning if you can, and make sure that you don't have to rely on those safety nets if possible, which is going to be a bit of a question mark for many of the drivers with just the nature of this circuit, which is kind of unique in its own way. And in some places, they've got banking, they've got berms that you're not allowed to go over. The drivers have been warned about where they are and are not allowed to run. So they'll be watching out for that, and the stewards will be paying full attention to it and potentially DQing drivers if they do go over the boundaries of what is considered the racetrack, as we now take a look at one of our onboards with our current reigning champion, Connor Berry, into turn 3 and just carefully taking his time as they now go over the whoops.
You get a pretty good bird's eye view here of the rhythm that we're talking about, coming out of turn 5, up over start finish, crossing the line, and got to use that berm to whip it into turn 1 right here, and immediately, once again, using those berms to keep all 4 tires on the ground, if you will, and keep that forward drive.
Connor gonna give up on his remaining laps. He had 1 more, but I guess he felt that last one wasn't going to be good enough. He's got half a tenth over Rafis out there, so he's got a decent marker on a track as short as this. We're riding with Jacob. Love the suspension travel camera that lets you see underneath the truck as he flies over the jump, down the hill, and into the hairpin of 3. Let's see if he can make up the time. I'm showing him on a bit of a slow lap, so I'm not confident that he'll be able to overtake Berry for the pole here.
Well, and something else to note right now, qualifying, the track looks very green. It doesn't look worn in at all, and depending on each driver's setup, that could definitely dictate how fast you're going.
Jacob takes that 3rd lap and decides not to do the 4th one as well. He did improve, actually, but it wasn't enough. He's still 4 hundredths off as we now head over to Christopher Plumley in the number 36. He currently sits third. Now, this is not where they'll be starting the race. If he qualifies third, he'll be on the pole in his heat, but the highest he can start in the feature is from that third position. But as we watch his onboard cam, the other thing to point out is we'll see a lot of this. Drivers with VR headsets here in dirt racing. That is almost a must unless you have a 3-monitor setup in this style of running.
And that's because there's so much yaw angle that these drivers are doing per lap. And look at how sharp and tight these corners are. Being able to turn your head to see exactly what's going on. And then, Joe, not only that, but when you have trucks next to you in a racing situation, it's always a great reference to be able to turn your head and see where they are.
Plumley on his 4th and final lap. Looks like he actually is going to do all 4 laps. The last 2 have given up on that, but no, he's not. He's going to run out of time just before he gets to the finish line. That's a bit of a shame for him, but that means that our first grid is already set, and it's going to be a more traditional start for this, not like the land rush that we saw back at Crandon. Keaton Swain is going to be on that front row with Alex Bergeron in second. Crystal King will be P3. Felix Roy starts from 4th. After that, it's Sean Winkler 5th, Timothy Messimer in the 6th position, and Dennis Mickelson in 7th. Joe Binder and Taylor Vandenbush round out your 9 trucks that will take part and start behind the pace truck this time instead of doing the standing start that we saw last round.
Could only do a lap here behind the pace truck, and just enough to kind of get things warmed up a little bit. And looks like starting on pole, like you mentioned, is Keaton Swain, and I know that he's regularly one of the fastest no matter what these off-road trucks are, and gonna have to keep my eye on that number 21, see what his pace is.
And as a special presentation, we have our national anthem ready to play before they take off.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rugged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
There we have our nation's national anthem, and the driver is just about to take off behind the pace truck around this circuit. Now, the previous times we've covered races here for the short course series, it was certainly one that saw things go a little bit differently for guys like Connor Berry. So will that be similar here today, where Connor will have a little bit of trouble? Will it be the one that kind of catches him out, or will drivers, will he be able to hold on and get another victory? Last time he didn't finished first on track, but he got the win in the end. He's got to try and make up for that, I'm sure, to get around there. Now, what's interesting with iRacing is that when the track is under 1 mile, you actually do 2 pace laps. Oh, no, we do not. Excuse me. Pace truck is in. So it looks like if I had waited a little bit longer, my own confusion would have been answered. So we're going to go racing on the first time. Keaton Swain with control, and the green flag is out. He is on it very early as they come over the jump past the start-finish line, ducking underneath him. Alex Bergeron going to take that point away. A little bit of contact between Swain and Roy, but they get away with it.
Keaton Swain tried to over-under, but that little bit of contact. Oh, no, and here comes a big stack-up going into turn 2 for the first time. A little bit of that accordion effect as the track is very green and slippery.
Binder and Messimer got caught up in the back as well, turned sideways before the jump. Ooh, and over the whoops, things are getting a little crazy. Are they going to be able to hold it pointed forward? Yes, they are. Still a little beating and banging, as it looks like Mikkelsen, who has second place, is being absolutely hounded by Felix Roy, who's now on his lid.
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact throughout this entire first lap, and Keaton Swain finds himself in the 3rd place position, looking back at Christy King, who gets a shove from the back end of Taylor Vandenbush.
Wow, so a rough first one, but Bergeron leads currently on lap 2. We got a replay of the incident on the front stretch, I believe. Oof, and I mean, look at them, almost completely pass sideways, more than 90 degrees, and still they get it turned around, but Roy just lands a little strange. No, he gets pushed, excuse me. So that, he was an innocent victim in that one.
It's such a rhythm section, Joe. I'm going to be calling it out all night. You really have to be on your rhythm through some of these tabletops and turn-ins, and too wide can be very tough in those areas.
Mikkelsen versus Swain goes the way of Dennis. Keaton trying to keep Crystal King behind and gets back to the inside, just goes a little bit of a nudge to the 41, but doesn't turn him around. The laps go by very quick here. We're already on lap 4 out of 6. And on top of it, it's only the top 3 that advance, so hence why we're seeing this group fight so hard. Oh, there goes Mikkelsen.
Yeah, just a little bit of side-to-side contact from Swain to Mikkelsen, and Mikkelsen finds himself upside down playing turtle.
So twice in the first heat race, we already have 2 trucks on their lid, and Crystal King sitting pretty. Sean Winkler, though, is following from behind. Can he manage to get there in time to challenge for that transfer position, or is he going to the LCQ? What's interesting about those 2 incidents is both of them happened with Swain making the contact.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of trucks do that tonight, because any side-to-side contact in these really slow corners, it can just easily put a truck over onto its lid. I don't think it's going to be the first time or the last time we're going to see it.
No doubt. So we come to the 1 to go marker. White flag is out for Bergeron. My goodness, has he been dominant in today's race. It's already 2 seconds ahead of the nearest trucks, with Swain in 2nd, King in 3rd. Winkler doesn't seem to be making up the ground that he needs to try and get that transfer spot. Just a couple more corners, and he's going to be sent to the LCQ. As up at the front, Bergeron now through 4 and 5. Got to watch out on that inside berm. You got to stay to the outside of it to be considered legal. And he is with a win in the first heat for Alex Bergeron. Swain and King also transfer through.
Well, what I took away from that heat right there, Joe, is that even if you're the pole sitter, you got to fight tooth and nail to advance, as we saw with Keaton Swain.
Okay, then. So that is our first one over. And for the results, I mentioned Bergeron, Swain, King, Winkler, Vandenbush, Messimer, Binder, Mikkelsen, and Roy will not go through automatically, and they will find themselves off into the LCQ in a moment. But now we grid up for the next one. Heat number 2 out of 3. On the top of this, Connor Berry got beat to the top position there in the qualifying, so he'll start on the pole of the second heat. Nicholas Dachelet will start second, and Mason Prater third. Tom Grady was P4, Parker Retzlaff fifth, and Paul Mikolajic is P6. Bodie Cryer will start seventh. Scott Kerr is eighth, and Cameron Magashik last on this 9-car field. So already pretty much gridded up and ready to go. What do you mostly take from that first race there, Joey? If you're lining up for heat number 2, what are you trying to avoid?
Things happened very, very fast. We saw big sliders being thrown in turn 1, lap 1, but biggest of all, we saw a huge accordion stack up going into turn 2. Got to be careful of trucks getting on the brakes early and not get into the back of them, because you can just cause chaos down there.
Yeah, so let's see who can manage to stay out of that chaos and get themselves in a good position. So out of the jump, the pace car, the pace truck, thankfully not going airborne. There were cases before where we saw that thing absolutely fly at 1,000,000 miles an hour, almost as fast as these trucks, because of how iRacing had programmed it, which is pretty funny to see, but don't think it's quite accurate for what that thing is capable of. In the meantime, Connor Berry in the number 2, ready to take the green flag as he accelerates away onto the tabletop and past the start-finish line, down into turn 1. And but he going to be able to take advantage almost 4 wide. Oh, we got another roller. That is going to be Bodie Cryer, who does wind up in his tires and keeps it going. These are hardy machines, and there's your proof.
Yeah, and a little bit more stack up there for the 4th, 5th, and 6th place positions, but it's all Connor Berry out front, followed by Mason Prater and Parker Retzlaff in the top 3.
Bit of a bad problem there for Scott Kerr, I think it is, and the 84, who gets held up as we watch Dachelet in the 23, giving chase, trying to get into that transfer spot. Retzlaff just in front of them as they use the little banking off of turn 1 and then brake hard down into turn 2, weaving their way around. Seems like Connor Berry is actually under a fair bit of threat from Prater.
I was just going to say that. Pretty impressive pace right now out of Mason Prater. And Joe, I mentioned it in the first heat. Look at the track. It's starting to finally get there and grooved in, but we're going to see it get a lot more rutted up than this. And that's when I think the trucks are set up for, is really a worn-out racetrack.
Absolutely, and it is only going to get worse and worse. Mikolajic now in the 177 with one of my favorite paint schemes, frankly, out here during this series, as the Pro Rogie tries to work his way up into the top 3 himself, but right now he's going to make 2 overtakes to do so. And they've gone very single file in this one, very big contrast to what we saw the first round.
Well, in big movers, Parker Retzlaff in that transfer number 3 spot. He's moved up 2 positions from his starting spot around Nicholas Dachelet, who was on the front row, actually. And Dachelet's looking out, and he's got to get in.
Yeah, this is not where you want to be. Going to be a little nerve-wracking, and Kerr is going to get to the inside as he tries to overtake Magashik. Can he finish the job? Nope, he's on the outside, tries to cut back and could maybe do it, but he takes a lot of the inside berm down through 3.
That's kind of what this racetrack is known for, a lot of technical over-under racing and the rhythm through those whoop sections. Get it right, you can make a lot of time.
2 to go. Dachelet still on the outside looking in, and he's lost some ground on Retzlaff, still in P2. He could still manage to gather it up and try and make an attack at the finish here, but it's going to take some hard work and some fast laps as the white flag is prepared for Connor Berry. He's looking for a heat win on this one. He didn't manage to do that in the first race when we were at Crandon with some bad luck there. And he's already looking good here, although he takes a lot of that exit banking.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see more and more trucks start to abuse it as the track gets rutted in. But Connor Berry doing a really good job here in heat number 2, controlling the pace of this heat and staying out front the entire time.
over the whoops and into the final sweeper, the number 2, who is last year's champion. This time is going to be our heat winner here today for heat number 2. Mason Prater advances from second, Retzlaff from third. Dashilet is going to find himself on the pole when we get to his LCQ. Well, I don't think that's the way he wanted that to go. For the rest of them, it is going to be Mikolajic in 5th, Tom Grady 6th, Magashik, Kerr, and Cryer also having to go off to that last chance qualifier to get into the big show. From there, we come to the final heat of the day. Actually, no, we might have one more. I'm seeing that we might have 4 heats for this one. Regardless, Jacob Raffis will be on the pole with Tyson Miller started his outside. Trenton Briley will be P3, and then Cody Retzlaff is going to be starting 4th. Jarrett Lieber will be P5, Vicente Salas P6, and Aiden Bierlein in 7th. Ryan Miller starts 8th, followed by Colin Murphy, the last of our 9 in this heat. So already I've seen drivers kind of pull their trucks forward, ready to go. They are eager to get racing today.
Well, one thing that we've seen between 2 heats so far, Joe, is that each heat has had 2 trucks on its roof at some point. Turn 1 has been a big impact zone, and so has turn 2. We'll see if heat number 3 produces the same type of racing.
It seems to be just trying to keep the tires on the, well, not the black stuff in this case, but on the brown stuff in our situation. Trying to keep from rolling over once again. And as we are going to be unleashed by the pace truck this time, Raffis on the point. Going to try and get ahead of it all, make sure he doesn't get involved in any of that messing about in the midfield. Looking for the green flag. He's staying patiently back, and now he accelerates away. We are racing for the 3rd heat of the night, and it's a good start for Raffis. He swings it wide around and not nearly as spread out as we saw there in that last start for heat number 2. What about coming up into the hairpin? They all crunch together, and we got another one rolling.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he does get stuck on his roof back there. I believe that's Cody Retzlaff stuck, but the rest of the field still rolling through turn 3, over the whoops and into turns 4 and 5, the sweeper for the first time.
Raffis still leads this with Miller hot on his heels as they start lap 2. Not seeing any moves down into the first corners. We hop on board with 4th place Lieber now, and just clipping the outside. They come over the tabletop jump and brake hard down into the hairpin, all of them tucking it nice and tidy down to the apex. A lot of battling in the back of the field, though, as it looks like Ryan Miller and Vicente Salas are actually banging doors so hard. There we go. There's our second one. It's Ryan Miller who goes up and over.
Well, we're 3 for 3 here tonight, but really impressive racing between Trenton Briley and also Tyson Miller here for the 2nd place position. Trenton looks like he's got a lot of speed as he takes a lot of that exit curbing.
I don't know if we'll have time later, but Ryan Miller had the most amazing riding of himself, where he got it on 2 tires and somehow got the truck turned over. I'm not sure how he managed that, but well done to him. As, yeah, here we go. We've got the replay. Takes him maybe about 10 seconds of trying to mess about with it, but here's where he gets turned up. And then watch this. This is a never say die attitude. It's going to just roll over enough. He'll stay on the gas. Get it, get it, get it, get it. And there it is.
Hey, sometimes you just got to, when in doubt, throttle out, right?
I love it. And yeah, great work. Unfortunately, that's not going to allow him to advance through into the main. He'll have to try in the LCQ, but up at the front, we're coming down to 2 to go. Raffis is still leading Miller, and he's got a lot better buffer than what he had on the first couple laps.
And Joe, I think this transfer spot position is starting to heat up. Liebert has been nudging the back quarters of Briley this entire last lap, looking for a spot to shove it underneath.
It's a little far back coming into turn 2 this time. I wonder if Briley has just got himself far enough away that There's not much that 10 truck can do. He is going to look under him once again, down through 3, but through the whoops, the car seems to not have the get up and go off the corners. They come to the white flag. It is still Rafos, Miller, and Briley looking likely to go through.
Through turn 1 one more time. This is a really rhythm section up on that berm, through this whoop section, and hard on the brakes for turn number 2. Only a couple corners left for each one of these competitors, but gotta keep it clean.
Jacob's really been dominating this one, just running away. Is behind him. Miller and Briley hold station. Yeah, Liebert's pretty much run out of opportunities. He's too far back. Jacob Rafos is going to take the win in Heat 3. Miller takes second, and Briley is the last to advance in this heat. Jarrett Liebert will take a 4th place. It'll be Aiden Beerline in 5th, Colin Murphy P6, and then a number of drivers winding up having problems down there with Cody Retzlaff, Ryan Miller, and Vicente Salas multiple laps down, unfortunately. Heat number 4, we've got 4 tonight for you. Christopher Plumley will start on the pole with Keith Jeffrey in 2nd, and Justin Kay will be P3. Zachary Drapkin starts from 4th. After that, it's Cody Winecki in 5th, Bryce Simoneau in the 6th spot, and James Berg 7th. Don MacArthur rounds out your 8-truck field, as we do not have enough to have a full 9 in this final heat, but there'll still be plenty of fun for all involved in this one. Well, we broke the trend. We didn't have 2 rollovers. We had 3 last time.
Well, we'll see what heat number 4 does. You know, hopefully we don't have 4 trucks on the lid for heat number 4, but we'll just wait and see. And I see the track getting more and more grouped in. Turn 1 is getting wider and wider, and that means once the racing kind of spreads out, these trucks, the passing opportunities get thin, Joe. It's really lap 1 and lap 2 where we see a lot of the action.
Yeah, get yourself some space, try and stay out of trouble, and that's the key to a bull ring in pretty much any style of racing. So the drivers are getting a little heated up, as they tend to do in bull ring racing as well. I'm seeing a lot of chatter between them on the text chat. They usually don't suffer that lightly to the stewards in this series. We'll see if that winds up seeing any sort of penalties or reprimands on that one, but that's for later. Right now, let's focus on the racing itself here today, because the base truck is once again in, and Christopher Plumley, with the appropriately plum-colored machine, is waiting for the go from the flagman up on the stand as they come around the banking of that final long sweeper. And he's on the throttle. Green flag is out. It's a big jump for that 36. I don't think he's really even going to be challenged, or will he? Down to the inside. Jeffrey takes a tiny peek, but he can't quite find the room.
The racing really is back here for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. They all get stacked up into turn 2 for the first time. A little bit of door banging back there for the 5th place position.
Trap key as well there, and 3rd goes in a little deep, and thankfully doesn't hit too hard on the trucks around him. Justin Kay gets a bit of it. So Simoneau, you mentioned him in 5th. Once again, he's going to have some collisions, and Winecki is going to sneak in front of him.
Yeah, Winecki has the track position now, headed into turn 1. Side by side for our lead up front. Chris Plumley continuing to hang on to it, but really Keith Jeffrey applying a lot of pressure early on.
Yeah, this is looking very good if you're Keith Jeffrey. Just keeping his nose right to the rear bumper of the 36 and any of those slow corners. In fact, he gives him another hello down through turn 3. Can he maybe knock him loose enough that he can get the run off the turn and try and slide up the inside? Keith Jeffrey, in the meantime, is still in P2, so he hasn't got it yet, but he is also advancing. How hard does he want the heat win?
You know, that's a good question, Joe. And can you take the racer out of the out of the driver? I don't think you can. I think if the opportunity is there, you're gonna take it no matter what.
Breaking down into turn 3 once again. While they have gotten a little bit farther away, it's still not far enough away that they can relax about the threat here. Drapkin's still in this as well. If those two start fighting, we can maybe sneak a pass on the pair of them. As we're going to look at Simoneau's view from the very back of the field. And I don't mean to jinx it since we still have racing to go. We haven't had a rollover yet on this one, have we?
No, I just knocked on the table over here, which is wood. So we'll just make sure we keep the luck going. We got all 8 trucks still pointed the right direction.
As we watch from Justin K, who is on the outside looking in, he's got to make up about half a second on Drapkin to try and get through, but he's losing ground himself as we see them come up and over the tabletop past the starters line. And he's got 2 laps to try and catch up as they continue to just pound against that banking.
It really is fun to watch him use that banking, that berm there on exit. And it's almost a rhythm to keep avoiding the whoops, Joe, because you want to keep the truck on the ground. All 4 tires on the ground means you can go faster.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it in that form. But going faster is exactly what Plumlee has been doing up at the front. We might be able to get a peek of him here with Kay, who's got very appropriate wallpaper for this style of racing, because Flowers do like the dirt. And coming back into the hairpin of 2, Plumlee is just gone. Nobody's got a chance on him.
No, but there in the 3rd place, I see Justin K might take a look down here into turn 3. Not quite close enough. A little bit of bumper bang in there. She says, hey, I'm here, make room.
I think that was the last gasp for Kay. He's a little too far back. And for Christopher Plumlee, a nice heat win to kick things off. Will advance him to the feature. Same thing with Jeffrey from 2nd and Drapkin in 3rd. Kay was close, but no cigar. He'll wind up in 4th with Wieniecki ending up in the 5th position. Then it's Don MacArthur in 6th, James Burke 7th, and Bryce Simoneau in 8th. That's going to take us to a short break before we go to the last chance qualifiers here for the iRacing short course, sponsored by General Tire Series. Stick around.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers. Welcome back to Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. We're getting ready for the first of our last chance qualifiers, and here's the grid for this one. It sees the likes of Jarrett Liebert on the pole with Sean Winkler next to him. Taylor Vandenbush starts from 3rd. Aiden Bierlein will be P4. Timothy Messimer will start P5. Then it's Colin Murphy in 6th. Next row has John Bider to the inside and Cody Retzlaff on the outside. Dennis Mickelson starts from P9, Brian Miller from 10th, and the last driver will be Felix Roy in 11th. Because of the top drivers that got turned over in some of those races, Joey, they're going to have a really rough time. Not only is this their last opportunity, there's more trucks and there's fewer laps.
We were talking about it during the break. Yes, 11 trucks on the racetrack. Not only that, but the racetrack is starting to get really grooved in. So if you get tossed up out of the racing line, you're just going to watch all the competitors drive right by you. So it's very important to stay on the line, be aggressive, and make your moves early and watch those mirrors.
Yes, sir. So we could see a lot more drivers, unfortunately, with the sky on the wrong side of them, as we have multiple times in the heats. And the drivers now take off on the pace lap. Again, we should see a single pace lap for these, but we'll see 2 for the feature once we get there to get everybody ready. And that's going to be even wilder when we get to that feature race, because they'll have more trucks than this on top of it. But for Jarrett Liebert, Sean Winkler, Taylor Vandenbush, they will start from those advancing positions. The big question is, will they finish in them?
And I tell you what, Joe, if I'm lining up on the right side, if row 2 or further back, just crossing my fingers on this start, holding my line and getting what I can, because you're in a bad spot.
Okay, they come around the last corner. You can see the blue groove being worked into it by now. It's really being rubbered in. And there's the green flag. Liebert with a great jump. A little bit of bumping and bang before they even came to the green, as they were nose to tail through there. They all squeeze into the first corner, and we got at least one looking like they'll get turned around, and there's our car on its lid. Ryan Miller goes for a roll, but up at the front, Liebert leads Vandenbush, and over goes Winkler.
Yeah, that was just a self-rollover. He got it checked up way too much, in my opinion, and unfortunately goes on 2 wheels and allows the rest of the field underneath.
So your 3 advancing drivers is Liebert, Vandenbush, and Beerline right now. Kyle Murphy has lost a lot of ground very early on. That does not bode well for everybody behind them.
No, when the race is on for that 4th spot, but they need to catch up to 3rd. And Joe, if you ask me, if I'm Aiden Beerline right now, I'm just managing the gap.
I agree. I think at this point, he doesn't need to be any higher unless they get up to his rear bumper. So just stick right behind Vandenbush unless you feel like you're being held up significantly, and transfer on through into the feature race. As we come around, we've already finished half of this thing, and it's down to 2 laps to go with no change up at the front. However, it is now no longer Murphy in 4th. It's Cody Retzlaff.
Yeah, Cody Retzlaff up into that 4th place position, but he's got a lot of track position to make up all the way up to Aiden Beerline. And even then, Joe, if Aiden Beerline has an opportunity, I would say just stay right where you are. Even trying to go too wide is going to slow you up.
He did give it a little bit of a try on Vandenbush.
Yeah.
In fact, now he's got an over-under, a very nice over-under. And they're going to go side by side as white flag is out for this man, Jared Liebert, our leader. Oh, it's a big mistake for Vandenbush. And it looks like Beerline is going to be able to sneak through into P2, but no, good over-under. Allows the 89 to get beside them. If they mess around too much, we could see Retzlaff sneak by.
And here is Retzlaff. He's already on the bumper as they're still too wide. Going into turn 3, this is going to give the opportunity to Cody to shove it down underneath here, and it gives a little bit of door bang. Last lap through turns 4 and 5.
Oh, this is going to be tense, but up at the front of them, Jarrett Liebert will advance through and win the last chance qualifier. Beerline second, and Vandenbush survives ahead of Retzlaff to be the last driver. Everybody else is going to be sent home from here, sadly. So you'll see Cody Retzlaff, Colin Murphy, Timothy Messimer, Joe Binder, Sean Winkler, Dennis Mickelson, Felix Roy, and Ryan Miller no longer for this evening's racing. That is a real shame for them. That's some majorly fast drivers in there that unfortunately will not be a part of any further racing. But we have more racing in the last chance qualifiers with Justin Kay starting on the pole for the second one. Nicholas Dachelet will be in second, and Paul Mikolajic will be third. After that, it's Cody Wieniecki in fourth, then Tom Grady in the fifth position. Don MacArthur starts from 6th. Next row sees Magashik on the inside and Burke on the outside. Scott Kerr starts 9th. Simoneau will be 10th. Bodie Cryer 11th, and Vicente Salas, who was looking pretty good last time out, is going to start from the very back of the field here. So he is going to have to make a lot of passes and very few laps.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle as Pace Truck is already rolling, but I tell you what, the action was frantic, and what I'm taking away from the first LCQ is that if you start going too wide, those trucks behind you can catch you very fast.
Yeah, if you get a breakaway, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, it seems. Just kind of hold the line and run it to the finish. Because, yes, there's some points to be given out here in the LCQ, but the drivers would probably like to get more points when they get to the feature and not throw that away as they come around through turn 3, and we watch from Cody's perspective here. Second in line, starting on the outside, and the pace truck is in. Now control is given to the 028 out of the last corner. It's been early starts for many of them, and it's a pretty early start there for him, but it does not catch out Dashilet. He's right up around the outside. Could he deny him? No. He slides right in front. The Pro Rogie looking for third as Mika Logic has got 2 cars trying on either side of him, and now both manage to get to the inside, and he gets almost turned over. He keeps it from rolling. No, save it. There he goes.
It's another one of those when in doubt, throttle out, but unfortunately he has already lost the pack. It is Justin K leading Nicholas Dashilet out front.
Yeah, he called it quits, unfortunately. I think he knew his day was essentially over here. There's no cautions in this, so he was not catching up. Kay under threat from Dashilet, who wants to try and at least take the win. Behind them, Tom Grady, the last advancing driver, has a pretty good gap over Winiecki. There's another look from Nick, but can't quite. Oh, touching midair. That is a big no-no. Thankfully, neither truck has turned over.
Yeah, I've been watching Dashilet. He stayed aggressive. He actually wants to try to take over this lead spot and show the speed that he's got inside that number 23 truck, because we're riding on board with him right here. And that wasn't the first move. And here he goes. There's a big slider into turn 1, but doesn't quite get it done.
Just bashes into the side of Justin Kay. Kay has been a real roadblock so far in this race, just holding it down very well. He wants to keep that safe position. He doesn't want to lose any spots here as he whips it back into the hairpin. Oh, they're right on top of each other. More pushing and shoving going around. It seems like Dashilet is not taking no for an answer.
Well, and I'm watching Winiecki here in the 4th place position. He's caught these top 3. They've definitely condensed, and we only got 1 more lap.
If they keep messing around, you said the lesson for the last one is don't race each other in the top 3. And right now, Cody in the 903 is watching, just salivating at the chance to maybe demote one of them and get to the big show, the last driver to grid up. And that one, in fact, he's going to go for a big dive. And that causes a stack up with all 3 of the leaders in front of him. Can they get off the corner? And they're going to hit each other once again. Justin Kay was almost completely off the course for a moment, but he's still the leader. And as they come to the line, Kay takes the win. Winiecki actually gets to 2nd, and Dashilet is going to wind up in 3rd.
Wow, you know, if we have time, it'd be wonderful to see that, but it was just a stack up in turn 3 there, and Justin Kay takes it home.
Wow, what a run for that one. So that sees Kay take the win, Winiecki 2nd, Dashilet 3rd, and then Tom Grady is done for the day, but just barely. It was a valiant final effort. Don MacArthur was P5, James Burke was 6, Magashik 7th, and Scott Kerr P8. Then Simon 9th, Salas 10th, and Mikolajic 11th, with Cryer not starting the race. We're going to take another quick break. We'll come back with the feature race here in the iRacing Short Course Series, sponsored by General Tire.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
Welcome back to Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. We just saw all the racing that's leading up to the thing that everybody wants here. That's the feature. And of course, we have the most cars that we've had for this race. We've got the most laps. This is going to be an interesting one, especially based on what we've been seeing already. The tempers have just been flaring out there.
Well, one thing, we've seen a lot of cars, or trucks, I should say, on their roof. And then in the LCQs, things were very, very frantic, especially at the final last couple laps there of that final LCQ. But now things might get spread out a little bit more. We're doing 26 laps here in this feature, so I'm expecting to see more traditional short course racing than the very fast and frantic throwing the big sliders in turn 1 and the late lunges in turn 2 and 3.
Indeed, and we can't forget that we have the competition caution at halfway in lap 11. So if you're in the back, I guess that's a good reason to not get too worried, even because they have wave arounds in this. And at this track, I'm almost certain that we're going to have a few that are going to need it by the halfway point.
Yeah, we've seen it through the heats and LCQs. Trucks get on their roof and need a little bit of help to keep going. And it's great that they have these rules set in this series that, yeah, they're going to have the competition caution. We're going to get those wave arounds. And it gives you a chance to get out there and race with your buddies again.
Exactly. Yes, there's a bit on the line here for these drivers along with the pride. But in the end, we all want them to be able to have fun. As you can see, they've gridded up. So let's go to our starting order for today's race. Christopher Plumley will be on the pole for this, as Jacob Raffos will be in second, and Connor Berry will be starting third today, but unusual for him. Then it's Alex Bergeron starting from fourth, as Keaton Swain will be fifth, and Mason Prater starts in the sixth position. In row 4, Tyson Miller's got the inside, with Keith Jeffrey on the outside. After that, Crystal King starts from P9. Parker Retzlaff will round out our top 10. Joey?
There in the 11th place position, we have Trenton Briley, followed up with Zachary Drafkin, Jarrett Liebert there in the 13th spot, Justin Kay 14th, Aiden Bierlein there 15th, Cody Wieniecki 16th, Taylor Vandenbush 17th, and Nicholas Dashlet rounding out the 18 trucks that are going to be taking the green flag.
So we wait for the drivers to take off on the 2 pace laps to prepare and get ready. Yeah, that shows you just, I mean, how many are out here today. It's going to be quite crowded into that first corner, first couple corners really, before they eventually get themselves sorted out. I'll be amazed if we get through the first 2 laps without any of the trucks rolling. And if they do, it'll be a pleasant surprise. But the other thing that has happened that will have an effect on the racing is that they did reset the track slightly. It's not completely back to green and completely fresh here, Joey, but it's not quite as torn up as what we saw there at the end of the LCQs.
No, I think it got reset before the short 2-minute warm-up there, so you're right, has a little bit of grooving into it, but we're going to see the race trucks come into it with their setup. You know, who's got it set up for this new racetrack, who's got it set up for the end of the race, which is, in my opinion, the most important part, because that's the only time that the checkered flag falls.
Now, for some reason, Tyler Vandenbush did not grid up. I'm not sure what his issue was, but the number 17 of Riley had an issue with getting the car started. And in fact, they're having to go around him right now as he's trying to figure out why it won't rev up. I wonder if the ignition is set to manual in the sim, because you can do that and he just doesn't know what button to push here.
And you're right, if you don't have that programmed or that knowledge offhand, you have to go into the menu system and reprogram it all.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, he had to take a tow. He couldn't get it started, so he'll start from pit lane. Hopefully that will give him the opportunity to find out how he needs to get it started, but I don't see Vandenbush in here. He seems to be gone. We come out of the final couple corners here with the pace truck ducking in. It's the feature race for round 3 and the iRacing Short Course Series presented by General Tire. And where is that green flag? There it is. Plumlee is off and he's clear. But what will turn 1 look like as a whole bunch of trucks barrel in and a big hit to the side of Plumlee keeps it from rolling over, but he's not quite in the lead. It does look like Rafos might be able to get to the inside of him, as once again they're still 3 wide down into turn 2. No one willing to give way. Plumlee somehow getting the nose ahead from the long way around, as behind him it is a right mess down into turn 3. But did we actually make it without a truck rolling?
I believe there's a couple trucks that are a little bit slower in the back from starting on pit lane, but no, it looks like they're all going, led by Christopher Plumlee out front. Connor Berry holds onto that second position. Really impressive, because Connor, in my opinion, could have taken a few lunges, but he raced really clean that opening lap.
I can't believe he managed to hold on to the lead with 2 drivers threatening him from multiple corners there at the beginning. One of them, this man here, Connor Berry, who has managed to get up into 3rd and is following Rafos, who is still threatening on Plumlee for the time being. They complete lap 2 as they come across the tabletop. There's a lot of cloud cover in this feature race, though, which will help the moisture stay in this dirt a little bit better.
We just had Mason Prater made a great move up to 5th, but then rolled it himself in turn 1, has to take a tow down to pit lane.
Yeah, did it all to himself as it hit the outside berm and just went over. Unfortunately, Barry on Rafos, but that one doesn't stick. It was a valiant move, but it was a little too shallow into turn 3, goes back to 3rd.
I'm going to fanboy out a little bit, because I really like watching Connor Berry race. He does a very good job of setting up the pass, looking down the inside. I just think his racecraft has gotten better and better over the years, and you're seeing what makes him one of the best off-road racers.
So they head towards turn 3 once again. That's our top 3 drivers there, and their perspective as they all race around that tight right-hander. Barry in the number 2, just pressurizing Plumlee every opportunity he can get. Rafos watching from P3 as they fly over the tabletop down into the first corner. Another look underneath, but he's not nearly close enough for now. Whoa!
Oh, he's got a really good run off of turn 1. And Joe, yeah, it takes you by surprise when they run up over that berm. And yeah, you see Connor Berry showing the nose on the corner exits, which means he's getting a really good drive off. And I think if he's able to clear Plumlee, as you see a little bit of stack up, it happens in turn 3. He's got the faster truck.
And watch out for Keaton Swain here. He's suddenly involved. He's managed to get a nose in on Rafos. He's going to try and make the pass. A lot of blinking there for Jacob, which will make life a little bit nerve-wracking. Unfortunately, it's someone behind. Oh, Bergeron went out.
It's the curse of the 5th place, Joe. Mason Prater went up into 5th, rolled it in turn 1, and then you just saw that truck, 5th place, turn 1, rollover.
Keaton doesn't want to get demoted to that. He's trying to get into third. So he feels a little bit nervous maybe in that fourth place. And wow, the long way around of Jacob Raffos. That was an impressive move for the 21 to get himself on the podium.
Well, I mentioned Connor Berry and his racecraft. Well, Keaton Swain, also one of the fastest off-road racers in the service and one of the most aggressive out there too.
I would agree based on what we're seeing here today. Oh, and he gets underneath once again, but that time that's from way far back. He unfortunately won't be able to overtake on Connor Berry, who's been struggling to try and get the pass done on the 36 for the early stages of this race. Here's Zach Drapkin, who absolutely slings it into the hairpin, and this is going to put him into 12th, I believe. No, 11th.
The racing further back is packed pretty tightly, as you see here. Almost 4 trucks battling it out for a single position.
And look at how long the line is getting as well. We've already seen a few trucks go a lap down with Prater and Bergeron losing touch there after their rollovers. Parker Retzlaff still sitting in 6th position, is hot on the heels of Keith Jeffrey. Now, Keith had a fantastic last chance qualifier there. Can he do a bit of the same towards the end? Because he's lost touch now, but we have to remember in a couple laps time, because we're on lap 9 now. At the end of lap 11, we'll get that competition caution. That will crunch everyone together once again.
And really patient from the top 4 right now. Connor Berry threw a big slider on Chris Plumley in turn 1 to try to take the lead away and stacked everything up, but there's still Plumley, Berry, Swain, the top 3.
It doesn't want to be second on the road again, Connor Berry, even though he got the points for the win last time out. Christopher Plumley still up at the front. In fact, if I recall, this was relatively similar to how the feature was going, with Berry kind of pushing hard for the win. And behind them, there was a big tip from Raffos on Swain, just giving him the aggression right back. We're coming close to that yellow flag, and there's some elbows out from the number 2. He gets a nose fully ahead of Plumley, but Plumley's going to be on the inside of the sweeper.
Yeah, it's not going to hold him, though. Connor Berry to the point, and he was waiting for that mistake out of Chris Plumley this entire race, and Plumley just got in a little bit too deep in turn 3. The number 2 took the opportunity.
Up to the top spot. Oh, there's another big look now from Keaton Swain, but he's given space at the apex. Christopher Plumley doesn't want to give up 2 positions so quickly, and will cover off the inside, as that's going to now check up Swain, and Raffos tries to make it a fight for him, and that number 21 for 3rd. No dice. He gets pushed back into 4th.
Yeah, and Keaton Swain trying to get around Plumley, and I know that we're working lap 12 here. Looks like we do have that competition caution on the racetrack.
Slows everybody up, so we should see Prater and Bergeron get the wave around here, and we'll get all 17 drivers back on the lead lap momentarily. But if I'm honest, Joey, that was actually not as action-packed as I thought it was going to be.
You know, it was very calm. You're right. And I think that things are going to turn up a little bit here in the second half of the race. A lot of nice racing between the front 4. You saw that they were well organized. They were plenty content to race amongst themselves. But they already pulled a gap on that 5th place.
Leaders have caught up to the pace truck. They should. I do believe the rules have been that they will wave them around, but they're going to give us a perspective of who all is competing in this while we wait for that to happen, including myself. And Joey, are you in? There's Joey. Okay. Yes, hello to everybody, as we got lots of drivers taking part in this one. And I do love that we've started getting more and more webcams tuning into these broadcast races in all different series, letting us see and really put a face to the drivers that are competing out there. Because at the end, that's the thing that I think we don't emphasize enough here on iRacing and sim racing in general, Joey, is that this is This is all real people. This is all human beings with feelings and emotions and drive to try and win and enjoy this camaraderie with one another. And I think that's what makes these feel so great to witness, is the fact that we do have all these real people driving like this is real racing.
I totally agree, and I have a lot of conversations of, how to bridge that gap between the real world and the virtual world, and that's these cameras. You show these faces of the competitors while they're out there racing, the concentration, the emotion, the frustration that happens. And trust me, it is very, very real. It is not a digital version.
Yeah, I once heard someone say that the racing isn't real, but the emotions are, and that's the best way to describe it. Is that it's about as close as you're going to get to getting out there in the car, and probably a lot less threat to life and limb here in the sim version, thankfully, as well. But all that you strive for in trying to take these wins is there, and that should make all these drivers feel great. The lights are out on the pace truck, though. So while we have waved around Prater and Bergeron, Briley, unfortunately, is going to manage to get the truck going, but 12 laps down. So this is essentially a test run for him.
Yeah, but it's still good to get out there, do laps, and like we mentioned earlier, have fun with your friends out there. That's what this is all about.
Barry, Plumley, and Swain, your top three on the restart. They've stacked back up. What is it going to look like from here? Did anybody down there, such as Jeffrey, Parker Retzlaff, Crystal King, did they lose touch with the front group with all the chaos there? And is this their second opportunity to try and get involved? The green flag is out. Connor Berry's leading this time, though, and it's a quick move to the inside for second place, as that is Swain pulling the slide job, but an over-under allows Plumley to go back through.
They're going to be too wide going into turn 2 for the second place position. Christopher Plumley on the inside, and Keaton Swain trying to hang tough around the outside. Looks like he will still be there going into turn 3. Really respectful not to get into the side of that purple truck.
Retzlaff trying so hard to be able to do something to guys like Keith Jeffrey and Jacob Raffos, because they're still too wide in front of him. As we see the third place, Keaton Swain has unfortunately not been able to stay ahead of Plumley, and there was a lot of pushing and shoving between Jeffrey and Raffos, which means Parker Retzlaff now might have a chance to demote him 2 in 1 corner.
Yeah, got a big slide job from Keith Jeffrey there in turn 1, was able to put his truck there in front of Jacob Raffos, take away that 4th place position, but it continues to be Keaton Swain really hounding the back of Chris Plumley, while Connor Berry, honestly, Joe, he's starting to run away with it.
Yeah, it's looking like the second he got that lead, it was bad news. My goodness, he's actually riding the berm as the truck was coming down through the air. That is real confidence and control of your truck. But the speed is just undeniable with the way that he is distancing himself from Plumley, who is still dealing with a hungry Keaton Swain in third.
Looks like we have our first truck on his roof now. Zachary Drapkin up there doing several barrel rolls, but keeps his foot in it. Gets this replay here, Joe.
Bad bounce, unfortunately. Just landed wrong and was trying to steer the truck. And around it goes. Wow, that was spectacular stuff. Kind of lucky that it did wind up on its wheels. Not sure how quick the truck is even going to be after that. Oh, we got to move for second. Swain is going to just sneak underneath as he forces Plumley wide, and that's P2 for the 21.
Plumley uncharacteristically off his brake marker there in turn 2, and I think once he realized it, he said, hey, you know what? No fight here. Keaton Swain, go underneath. You took this.
So second place has been changing around a fair bit, but behind them, even with that battling, it seems like Jeffrey and Retzlaff and Raffos have been losing time, because I think they're also fighting extremely hard. In fact, there was a little nudge from the 19, and yet another big nudge. Oh, and a truck on its roof. Parker Retzlaff is the latest victim.
Yeah, they're still shoving doors, banging elbows down here in turn 3. Looks like Nicholas Dachelet is going to get around Jacob Raffos, and if you ask me, Rafos is out there saying, what did I do to everybody?
Parker only lost 4 positions. Now, he had a bit of a blink, so it was a little strange. So I'm not sure if that roll wasn't legitimate. But I think what happened is the truck rolled just right, that he landed on his wheels. He hit the gas, and he just kept going. Oh, Dashalet. Now Dashalet is going to fall victim to the same corner that's been seen all the rolls in this feature race. That's turn 2 is Calamity Corner.
Yeah, turn 2, it's the big brake zone. It provides a lot of accordion effect, and not surprised to see that happen a lot. But want to give a shout out to Nicholas Dashalet because he started last in this feature, and he had worked his way all the way up into that 5th place spot before we saw that rollover.
I hate to see that when a driver's been doing so well, making up for things. Connor Berry, though, who we ride on board with, is now up to a full 1.5 seconds away from Keaton Swain. But things, I think, have kind of settled into what the pace dictates. Because, yes, Plumley was in the lead in second place for some time. But based on what I'm seeing, I think Keaton is the quicker truck.
Well, I think the 2 out front are really in a league of their own, Joe, because 35-2, 35-3 from our leaders, 35-7 from Chris Plumley, 35-8 and slower from the rest of the field. So, yeah, the number 2 and the number 21 are hooked up.
No doubt. And there's no advancing here. This is for all the big points. So trying to get as many positions as you can is the name of the game. We're on board with Crystal King, who is not only trying to threaten those in front, but hold back Jarrett Liebert, who is going to duck underneath and pull a beautiful over-under. Crystal tries to fight back and gets the exit. The fight's not over.
No, but she's got the good position. Ride that cushion around turn 1. Take the momentum here. Still going to have, let's see here, the 10 there underneath, but she just needs to hang tough around the outside of the racetrack. More pushing and shoving. It's still too wide.
Almost 4 wide for a brief moment, because that's Parker Retzlaff and Tyson Miller behind them as they come through turn 3. It's just continuing on and on, bumping and banging over the whoops. This time it's going to be Crystal pulling the over-under, and she can't get the run she needs, but she is just hounding Jarrett Liebert.
And we're seeing how blue-grooved, how slippery this racetrack is. Everybody is out there just searching to try to find out where to get these trucks turned.
Yeah, sliding into the corner like these two. Rafos racing with Jeffrey, coming down to the hairpin. Understeer for Jeffrey. It's going to put him into the side of Rafos briefly, but they're only going to have 1 more lap to figure this out, because there's the white flag for Barry.
Yeah, just a victory lap for the number 2 out front. Just needs to hit his marks while the rest of the field scraps it out for their position.
It's amazing stuff here outside of the podium, but it does look like Rafos came out ahead of Jeffrey and is pulling away. So here's your man. He had to really hustle his way forward in the first round. But as we come to Wild Horse Pass, he had to pass far fewer trucks and dominated way more because of it. A win for Connor Berry.
Keaton Swain coming home second place, and looks like Christopher Plumley will round out your podium here in that number 36 truck. Christy King rounds out, or stays 7th place with Liebert there just in front of him in that 6th place battle.
Liebert up 7 in this race. Winiecki likewise down there. So it's been some wonderful runs there in the mid-pack for our drivers. But here is your results, with Barry taking the win. Keaton Swain was second, and Christopher Plumley rounds out your podium. Rafos started on the front row and had to settle for P4 in the end. Keith Jeffrey up 3 spots to take 5th. Liebert, who had to work his way through those last chance qualifiers, eventually found himself P6 in the end. Crystal King was 7th, and Parker Retzlaff was P8. Cody Winiecki 9th, and Tyson Miller rounds out your top 10.
There in the 11th place position, Mason Prater. Aiden Bierlein there in 12th. Nicholas Dashalet 13th. Alex Bergeron there 14th place. Zachary Drapkin rounds out the top 15, and then see Taylor Vandenbush a couple laps down. Justin Kay 22 laps done, and Trenton Briley, with those problems at the beginning, was able to at least get out there for the last half of the race and do some laps.
Well, the racing is over, but the show is not. For the iRacing Short Course Series sponsored by General Tire, our post-race show with driver interviews will be up shortly, so stick around.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
Welcome back to Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. I'm Joe Peak here with Joey Atterbury. And after round 3 for the General Tire Series, National Series, we have our winner with us once again, Connor Berry. Connor, we made such a big deal out of you giving yourself so much work in that first race. It seems like you made it a little bit easier on yourself this time.
Yeah, for sure. I got to qualify P2, which was good. Then I got first inside the heat, which means I started third. So I definitely knew I knew that it was going to be hard just because it's a really tight track. So it definitely was hard, but I was able to get around Plum and win.
Now, we saw a lot of rollovers in the races leading up to the feature. Were you at all nervous about that, knowing that you did have to make those passes? And were you careful trying not to put yourself in a position where that could happen?
Kinda. I knew all of the guys around me are clean, so I knew that it would be fine. So I banked off of that, and yeah, it worked.
It did indeed work. So back-to-back wins. This time, thankfully, finishing first on the road. Next time out, though, we head out to Bark River. Do you see yourself managing to make it a three-peat?
I think I got a chance, but I mean, it's definitely going to be hard. There is some guys who are just like really fast there, and I have been beaten there a lot, so I think it's definitely going to be hard, but I think I got a shot at it, and yeah, I hope I can.
Well, best of luck when we get over there to Michigan. Congratulations on the win today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you.
Thank you.
That was Connor Berry, your winner here today for round 3. Up next, Joey has caught up with Keaton Swain.
Keaton Swain, our second place finisher here at Wild Horse Pass. Congratulations on the finish.
Thank you.
Well, now I know that you took home a win the other night at a different dirt track and Connor finished second, so you kind of have flip-flopped them around, but take us through that final feature in your eyes. You were kind of stuck back there in third place for a little bit.
Yeah, we had a decent start there. Didn't get into too much trouble, and I knew if I just settled in there and kind of followed along, that at some point I'd try to make a move or two. And luckily, I was able to get around Jakob, and then I got around Plum there after the caution. But I didn't have anything for Connor tonight, and he was on it. He's definitely really fast once the track slicks off like that. So good run for him. Obviously, beat him the other night, so we're even right now.
Yeah, well, I do remember that one. And actually, talk me through that move that you were able to pull on Plumlee there. Did he just go in a little bit too deep on you and you were able to sneak underneath, or was it from pressure crawling up behind him for so many laps?
It might have been a little bit of me putting the pressure on him, and he just overjumped it a little bit or missed his braking mark. Not 100% sure. I'm sure he might have something to say after I'm done here, but I think I just pressured him into a little mistake there and was able to get to his inside.
Well, Keaton, you're always one of the fastest off-road racers in the service. And before I let you go, anybody you want to say hi to or thank?
Yep, I just got to thank Appliance Parts Company, everyone at Factory SimSport. We've been putting in a lot of work here, getting the whole team fast. So it's good to see we got 2 out of the 3 on the podium today. So we'll just keep that momentum going. I'd like to thank Sim Coach Pedals, everyone that helps Connor's leagues out, and you guys for doing the broadcast.
Well, that was Keaton Swain, driver of the number 21 truck, finishing in second place position tonight.
We also have third place Chris Plumlee in the number 36 car. And Chris, the question that we've been wanting to know is, there seem to be some conspiracy theories behind the scenes that you lifted and let Keaton through. Is that accurate?
No, never. I missed my turn. My setup was getting really loose at the end, and I just forgot to turn before going off the face of the jump.
It's a real shame, probably a little bit frustrating. Even still, you managed to come home with a podium here, which I'm sure counts for something, especially with how chaotic it seemed in every single one of the races tonight. Does that seem like a win, that you didn't wind up at the side of the track and upside down?
I mean, honestly, coming in tonight, I wanted to get anywhere in the top 10 with 0 penalties, and I was going to be happy with that. So putting it on the box with the teammate, I'll take it.
Great stuff. Sounds like your fellow competitors have been having good results in the real world out there. Do you think there's something to be said for the psychological aspect of carrying that over from the real world stuff to the sim? Usually we talk about taking the sim over to the real world.
I can't see if you had your kid racing or if you were racing why you wouldn't be on here. Learning lines, learning throttle control, and trying to avoid all the chaos. So anyone that's, possibly thinking about getting their kid on the sim, it can be expensive or as cheap as you want it to be. But if you're putting the money in the real world, you might as well be putting it in the sim as well.
I like that. That's a good philosophy on this one. Well, sir, congratulations. You managed to top 3. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you in Michigan. Yeah, we'll see. Yep. Thanks to you guys for putting on the stream. Thanks to Factory SimSport and the Legion drivers. Shenandoah Shine, T-Stone Enterprise for giving the swags and the giveaway for whenever I do stream. ZK Designs for making my stream overlays and the truck on point. Appliance Park Company and Sim Coach Pedals. And Rep CPS, code 10% for 10% off their merchandise. Great stuff. It's Christopher Plumlee, your third place finisher here today. I mentioned some real life good results, and that, of course, is Connor Berry took his first Pro Light win on Tuesday. So congratulations, Connor, on managing that. But Joey, we managed to make it through the bull ring, and now it opens up for one of the longest tracks next week when we go to Bark River. That's going to be fun.
Bark River is one of my favorite off-road tracks. It really races kind of like a road course with how fast and some of the sweeping turns, and as always, that huge flat-out top speed jump.
Yeah, it is something to behold, no doubt, as we're going to wrap it up. So a big thank you once again to General Tire for sponsoring the series. And Also, join us that next race. We have a little bit of an off. It'll be Thursday, February 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, that's Bark River International. A big thank you to the organizers, and of course, a huge thanks to our team tonight, Joey, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. And none of this is possible without those behind the scenes of Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the General Tire National Series. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.